What is Need for Speed? Seriously, what is Need for Speed? What comes to mind when you think of this franchise? For most, it'll be cross, canyon battles, and tuner culture. For others, it may be cop chases, supercars, and vistas. The thing is, when you look at the series' history, apart from cars and racing, NFS really has no true identity. And that's its greatest strength. The franchise needs to embrace this. Let's rewind time back to the game that started it all. The Need for Speed. Or Overdrive if you're from Japan. The first Need for Speed launched in 1994 on the mighty 3DO, and featured one of the worst UI ever seen in gaming. Seriously, how do I use this? But once you actually got into a race, the premise was clear. Beat the other driver, and don't get busted. The subsequent sequels were built off of this concept, and the series got into a groove. Beautiful scenery, supercars, and cop chases. This is what Need for Speed was. Or was it? The series would quickly divert with a pretty bizarre spin-off in retrospect. Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed. Taking away the varied car roster and focusing on one specific brand of vehicles was a bold move, but the developers at EA Seattle used the spin-off as an opportunity to continue to grow the series. It's the first game to feature a story mode, it adds new game modes and challenges to the mix, and features an improved damage model and physics simulation. So, what is Need for Speed? Two of the core tenets have had compromises. Police can only chase you in certain scenarios, and supercars have been axed in favor of only sports cars. Well, it's a spin-off, right? So, does it really matter? Let's look at the next mainline entry and what it has to offer. Chemical Warfare. This is what Hot Pursuit 2 brought to the table. It upped the ante from the original game, featuring more aggressive cops, even more iconic tracks, and visuals which still hold up to this day. This was Need for Speed. Survive the cops and beat your rivals in your dream super and sports cars across stunning locations. Conventional thinking would have you believe the series would continue to iterate off of this game, as it's the culmination of everything EA Seattle had been building up until this point. But, as you know, that's not how it played out. You may know that Hot Pursuit 2 had two different developers. EA Seattle handled the Xbox, PC, and GameCube versions, and Black Box did the PS2 version. Black Box took the foundations of what Seattle was building and ran with it. They outdid Seattle on their own game. In fact, EA was so impressed by their work on the PS2 port that they were acquired shortly after. And EA Seattle, after a decade of service, was shut down, and the franchise was handed over to the new EA Black Box. And they had their own ideas on what Need for Speed is. Underground, the first radical shift for the NFS franchise, no doubt inspired by the breakout hit that was Fast and Furious at the time. NFS fans look back on the original Underground games very fondly, but at the time, it was not well received, which is something which would become commonplace as time went on. Out with the supercars and in with the tuners, out with the coastal roads and in with the city blocks. Underground was the first radical shift for the NFS franchise. Under Black Box, the series would get more diverse and experimental with each of its releases. From dunking the game in piss, FMV cutscenes,
very dangerous,
and even more improvement on the police system. Auto-sculpt, an MMO, sanctioned racing, the series even brought on additional developers, Criterion, Slightly Mad, and EA Montreal. Now, don't get it twisted. These games were not all well received at the time. Pro Street was seen as a weird diversion from Most Wanted and Carbon. Undercover was, well, undercover, and Nitro was and still is disregarded. But in recent years, these games have received a lot more love. Hot Pursuit 2010 remains a fan favorite, and is the only NFS game to get a remastered treatment. Both Most Wanted games have their fans, and even Shift gets some love from time to time. And who could forget The Run? So what does that tell us? Well, that the fan base is split. NFS branched into multiple different styles and genres, offering differing flavors and bringing in different audiences. Need for Speed as a franchise represents the supercar fantasy, the underground tuner culture, track dates, and cinematic driving action. Put that one on the box. In the current climate of racing games, it's no wonder people look back upon these titles so fondly. Need for Speed at this point had no identity. There's not a consistent way these games presented themselves, nor how they played. What is Need for Speed? Well, Need for Speed is a racing franchise that takes the shape of whatever it needs to be.
Okay, all right, so you've done this before. Well, what do you want, a hero biscuit? Why don't you sit your sticky butt back down behind the wheel and let's see you go even faster, Melvin?
So, what do we do with this information? Well, it's more what EA should do with this information, and that is embrace the chaos. Use the Need for Speed name for everything. There's even precedent for this. If you're in the US, V-Rally 1 and 2 were branded as Need for Speed titles. But just to be clear, I'm not suggesting Need for Speed presents F123. But what EA needs to do is allow multiple development studios to take a shot at the NFS license. Allow external and internal development teams to concept and build NFS games of different genres and forms of racing. NFS has always been about change, and that's the best thing for the series. There wouldn't have been a Most Wanted, a Pro Street, or The Run without change. The best thing for the series and for the racing genre is for EA and NFS to embrace that. Now, let me explain why this isn't just a terrible idea. Konami recently announced a revival of Silent Hill, with not just one, but multiple games from different studios across the globe, all independent from one another, which ultimately will appeal to different horror audiences. Sega has licensed out active and legacy IP to external studios, mostly to success. Microsoft let Piranha develop a new MechWarrior game completely independent of them. So it wouldn't be unprecedented to allow external studios to work on an IP. And what's the benefit of this? Well, more games for different groups of players, it maintains brand awareness, and Need for Speed is no stranger to changing hands or alternating developers either, so it fits with the franchise. Why not a Cyberpunk NFS? Go further with the horror vibe and a Shift successor. Remake the iconic classics. A Need for Speed RPG from BioWare? Sign me up. Or give us something like Spin Tires meets Underground. All of this would be difficult for one studio to do, and to manage at EA overall internally. So share the series with other companies. EA is already doing this in both the mobile and arcade space. So clearly they value the Need for Speed IP and want to expand it to different audiences. They should also be doing this in the console and PC space. So what are the downsides? Well, here are some concerns I see being brought up. Quality, brand dilution, internal competition, and series fatigue. So that first point, quality. I do believe EA should maintain some level of oversight on these hypothetical games. There should be a level of quality maintained based on the individual budgets and scope. Or like what Konami is doing, partner with a trusted publisher to handle that on a per-project basis. That second point, brand dilution. In my opinion, a Need for Speed game would work even if it only offered bikes. Remember, this is the same franchise that offered Simcade and Power Racing within a year of each other. So long as racing is the primary focus, then it can be NFS. Third, internal competition. That's a big one. You don't want to compete with yourself, right? But the arcade racing genre is so barren right now that so long as these hypothetical games stand out from one another, they will find their markets and their niches. People still play Hot Pursuit for the multiplayer, 2015 for the vibe, and Heat just because they prefer it over Unbound. You're still maintaining an active player base interested in the series. Activision notably released DLC for Black Ops 3 because it saw a resurgence in player count. In my opinion, so long as people are playing NFS, then that's healthy for the franchise. Now for that last one, series fatigue. Considering how starved the community was for the Unbound reveal, I don't think the franchise is experiencing any sort of fatigue in its near 30-year run. To pull another example, Sega was once releasing a new Yakuza game about every 9 months, sometimes less than that, and that's not including ports and spin-offs. It built up a brand identity and a new, larger fan base, and Yakuza itself has reinvented itself, gaining an even larger crowd. This last point does circle back to the first. It's not about the releases, it's about the quality and what it brings to the table. And as a side note, it'd be really neat in this hypothetical scenario if these games had diverse pricing to reflect their scale. Kinda like how Yakuza 0 was a full price release, but Kiwami and Kiwami 2 weren't. An open world NFS? Yeah, that's a full retail game. An online only experience maybe shouldn't be that much, say an NFS World successor. And neither should say a Pro Street successor. That shouldn't be full retail price, just to capture the audience of people that usually dismisses track racers. It's also not only on EA to bring on more developers to diversify the series, but to position them in a way to fully reach their full market potential. Now, back on track, I just want to reaffirm that I don't want Hajwala to have an NFS logo slapped on it. You know, similar to how Vampire the Masquerade has a Battle Royale for some reason. But the series needs to embrace its own chaos and divided fanbase, and it cannot do that within EA alone. The company just bought Codemasters. Why not use the aforementioned Cheshire to take the gameplay of Onrush and integrate it and expand upon the Hot Pursuit multiplayer experience? If it doesn't work out, well, Hot Pursuit still exists, and if it does, well, EA is rolling in at least
$5 grand.
Imagine this scenario. Unbound updates too slow? Well, Heat just got its content. Or the NFS Apocalypse game just came out. Oh, Unbound just got updated? Well, let's hop on and check out that then. I get new visual effects for my car. I like that. Heat doesn't have that, but it has a game mode that I enjoy. We swap between different games and experiences based on what we want to play. Because Need for Speed as a franchise can offer these unique and varied experiences. You don't have to play or like every game. But as player numbers and online discourse have shown, people find and stick to the particular game or niche that they enjoy. They love these games so much they're still creating content for it years after the fact. Because to this day, within Need for Speed and the racing genre as a whole, nothing fills the gaps that these games leave behind. Speed as a franchise is in a very unique position to capitalize on this. The series can appeal to no one by constantly uprooting itself, yet appeal to everyone by allowing even more varied and unique experiences within itself. Test Drive Unlimited cannot and should not include power-ups. Forza Horizon can't make changes to its progression system without backlash, as there are people that like having a Ferrari thrown at them for some reason. Need for Speed doesn't have that issue. Need for Speed has no identity, and should stop looking backwards to find one. Again, there never would have been a Most Wanted, The Run, Underground, Pro Street, or Hot Pursuit 2010 if the series stuck to this. Let the franchise become a brand for arcade racing. It'd give the main studios more time for their games, you'll reach new audiences by taking risks, and it would keep the franchise and racing genre healthy and alive. Why not see what the developer of Art of Rally can do with the series? Give Capcom a reason to re-enter the genre. The opportunities here are endless. So, what do you think? What do you want to see from the Need for Speed franchise? Who do you want working on it? Thanks for watching.